What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes Show. It's Thanksgiving week. We're recording this Wednesday morning, so this is going to be out like 3 o'clock on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. No one's going to fucking listen to this on Wednesday afternoon, but that's all
not
right.
True. People are traveling. This is people listen to podcasts when they're in the car.
Maybe.
When they're on the move, Andrew, don't you look at the statistics? When people are moving, they listen to podcasts, and people are moving around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you're going to be sitting in 7 hours of traffic driving up
there you go.
the Northeast Corridor. And
yeah, welcome to the show.
Cool.
I'm sorry you're in traffic right now.
Maybe it's the most listened to podcast of the year for all I know.
Don't drive on 95 at all, ever, the turnpike, any of these major highways around cities around different holidays. Avoid them like the plague.
I had like the local news on this morning, and they were just like warning about the high volume of traffic today. They warned between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. I'm like, so all day. All day.
So don't leave your house.
Don't
travel on Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
If you're going to leave your house, make it 6 a.m. or 11 p.m. Got it. Or news.
Or Tuesday.
Tuesday cannot be. I mean, that's no better. Like people are like, oh, it's Thanksgiving week. I'm going to work a half day Monday morning and call it.
Yeah. And I'm not even going to do that.
What's up, Scott? I feel like it's off season now. We only talk once a week.
I know. We don't even work at the same company anymore.
No,
all of these things. So yeah, it's off season, man. It's Aaron Judge watch. That's really what it is. This whole thing until it's over. It's Aaron Judge watch. That's what we are. We got TMZ meeting him at the airport. We got TMZ following him around. You know, there's going to be people in his window, like taking camera to see what kind of Thanksgiving meal he has. If there's any hints whatsoever in any of the decor, although it's confusing because orange is a pretty big staple color of the Thanksgiving time and the fall season. So that could be confusing. And I could see someone running with a report about that. A lot of orange at the judge table on Thanksgiving.
I heard he had sweet potatoes. Does that mean he's going to the Giants? Yeah, so he's meeting with the Giants this week, or met with the Giants this week. We had the Jock Peterson posting the 99 problems, something about Judge joining the Giants thing. It's like, that's when you look at all the odds, the betting odds on where he's going, it's the Yankees and Giants 1-2. And we knew this was going to happen, right? We knew he was going to meet with teams, specifically the Giants. I think he'll also meet with the Dodgers. He'll meet with a handful of teams. But there is obviously a connection for him and the Giants. Like he's from that area. He grew up a Giants fan. It seems like they're prepared to make him a very high offer. I still think the Yankees will top the offer, and I think that Judge would prefer to stay with the Yankees. I think he's smart. He understands for his career longevity. I'm not even talking about on the field. I'm talking like just off the field, or just in general relevance. Staying with the Yankees is better for him. And I think he understands that. So I think that's why that ultimately would be the deciding factor here, if all else is equal.
Why do you think he understands that? Because in the past, you have definitely shied away from getting in the head of these players, and you've also shied away from looking at additional value outside the total dollar amount. So why is this
just like,
different?
are you talking about like with Robinson Cano? Like
just in general, I don't think you're a believer of people that take a hometown discount. They're looking for the biggest offer. So
I didn't say he would take a hometown discount. I said if all else is equal.
Okay. All else is equal.
No, if the Giants offer him more money, I mean, listen, if it's $5 million,
does it have to be it's got to be a percentage? What's your percentage? What's the percentage in your head that
I don't know the percentage. I think if it's a year more commitment from the Giants than the Yankees, then he will go to the Giants. If the Giants offer him 9 years guaranteed and the Yankees offer him 8 years guaranteed, he will go to the Giants, or he will go to a team offering him an extra year, which is, call it $35 million of total value. He will choose that deal over the Yankees. If it is the same years, but the money is slightly different, a couple percentage points difference, then I think call it a wash.
So imagine being the New York Yankees, understanding that there's a 9-year offer on the table and you go 8 years. You're essentially saying that 1 year at 35, call it $40 million. just to go on the high side. You're basically saying that having Aaron Judge for the duration of his career is not worth the $40 million. For all of the other things that come with it, it's not worth the $40 million. That's how I would look at it.
Or
if I'm looking at what that delta is, and that delta is never going to be not worth it for the Yankees, right? Like ever.
Well, I mean, if a team gets stupid and offers him like 10 or 11 years, I could see the Yankees being like, I don't know that we can do this. I think there's like the principle of it, right? Like I do believe that at a certain point, Hal Steinbrenner has a number and a number of years in mind, and he's willing to push up against that, but he's not willing to just completely throw that out of the water and just throw caution to the wind.
I mean, they kind of did that with Gerrit Cole, didn't they? They went as high as they needed to go to get the man.
That's right.
Why should this be anything different?
It's a good question. It shouldn't be. I'm not arguing that it will be.
Philosophy wise, you're talking about principle and that there is now, they've established what they are willing to do to get a guy that they believe is their guy. So if they're not going to do the same thing they did to Gerrit Cole with the potential, captain for the next 8 years of the New York Yankees, then what are we doing? Because anything inside $100 million, they're going to make back. And that's an arbitrary number. Whatever the number is, it's a high number, right? We agree it's a high number. Whatever that delta is, they will make it back in other ways.
The numbers. It doesn't
matter what the number is. That's the point, right?
No, I know that doesn't matter, but my only point is that I do think so you're saying there should not be a number or a number of years that they just say, okay, we're done. We can't go any higher. There's no breaking point.
No breaking point, because if someone else is willing to do it, then then the market dictates that is the number.
12
and if this is your guy, then you go after the guy.
12 years.
Again, if the market is dictating, it's not going to be 12 years and $40 million or $35 million. There's going to be a number that's less. I mean, we don't have to go completely unrealistic here, but if the market dictates a number, then yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, I mean, fine. I'm okay with that. I'm just saying what I think, in that if the Yankees are not matching the top offer, he's not going to just take a hometown discount.
I agree.
My point was that if the contracts are equal or very close to equal, the Yankees have the edge for a number of reasons. One of them being, I think he understands the impact that being a New York Yankee has on your life.
I hope he does. I really do. I really hope he does, because Robinson Cano wishes he had that foresight.
Let's
at
put
the
it
time,
this
I
way.
think.
If he hit 62 home runs in a Giants uniform, do you think it would have been as big of a deal? I
think it would have been a very big deal, but we're so in the middle of this bubble. Probably not as big of a deal because of the whole. I mean, the whole record in the American. First of all, it's an American.
He wouldn't
league
have
record.
even been the team leader in franchise history.
It wouldn't have been a league record if you were in the National League. But because he's in the American League, because he's with the New York Yankees, this is a Yankees record in the American League. It always has been.
What if he was with the Seattle Mariners?
I mean, obviously the answer is no. The answer is no.
Okay. Why are you playing it? Why are you like taking a hard?
Because it's the off season.
Why are you just not answering?
I'm just going to argue with you.
Answer my freaking question.
What was your question?
My question was that if he was not a New York Yankee, the season that he just had would not have been revealed as it was. And I think it deserved to be. Even if he had those exact same statistics with the Angels or the Mariners or the Giants or whatever freaking team, it would be as equal an impressive offensive season, but it would not have been talked about in the same vein. And his MVP would not have been as big of a deal. He understands it. I think he understands that. And like, that's sort of the topic that we're going to, one of the topics we're going to talk about today is where Judge's MVP season ranks in Yankees history, because there's a ton of Yankees history and all-time great baseball players who are also all-time great Yankees on this list that we're putting him in the conversation with. And that just carries more weight when you're in the same conversation as Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Derek Jeter, all of those names, than you are with go down the list of any good franchises top names. They just don't carry the same weight. I understand we're biased. I understand we're in a Yankees bubble, but it's true. It's just true.
I know it's true. It's 100% true. And there's no doubt that should be a factor, whether it is or not in the player's head. That's what we don't know. So you would think that it would be a major factor. But again, I keep going back to Cano. He didn't consider that. He took the money, the dollars, the length of a contract. He took more money, fine. But he essentially was, sent to obscurity in the Pacific Northwest. It was just a bad fit market-wise for him for additional things. And I know he was, he was attached to Jay-Z and got some commercial things after the deal even, but nothing compared to what he could have done in New York. And who knows how the career ends up at that point. But I hope that he thinks that, because it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Your market attractiveness in New York is different than it is in San Francisco. And he's the face, he's the one of the faces of baseball.
So what we did here is we pulled the top, how many are there? 1, 2, 3. There's 6 seasons of Yankees MVPs that we pulled. And I'm going to run down the list in what I think is in order of, not what I think, but it's just like statistically by OPS plus and by WAR, what seasons rank the best in Yankees history. And then we can talk about which seasons we want to throw out, because some of them are from almost 100 years ago. So the first one is Babe Ruth's 1923 season, in which he had a 239 OPS plus and 14.2 WAR. He hit 393, 545, 764 with 41 homers and 130 RBIs. The next highest WAR of that season was Harry Hellman, 9.3, who actually had a better batting average than Babe Ruth with 403 batting average, but he was obviously, significantly lower in all other offensive categories. This was Babe Ruth's only MVP season, because back in that day, you could only win the MVP once for some reason.
That's so strange.
So strange. The next on the list is 1927, Lou Gehrig. 220 OPS plus, 11.9 WAR. He hit 373, 474, 765 with 47 bombs and 173 RBIs. He did not lead the league in WAR that year. That was Babe Ruth, who hit 60 home runs, but he couldn't win the MVP a second time. The most amazing
thing,
win it.
He can't be most valuable again.
The most amazing thing about this Lou Gehrig 1927 season is he hit behind Babe Ruth, who hit 60 home runs, and he still managed to have 173 RBIs. I think that's, pretty impressive.
Babe Ruth struck out a lot too, and the guys on that team were pretty decent, so they got on base a lot. But Babe Ruth did strike out a lot.
How many strikeouts did he have in 1927? Can somebody look that up? I feel like it wasn't a lot. I feel like he didn't swing and miss that much because he was not facing the best competition.
In his career, he struck out a lot.
He played
comparatively at the time.
Yes, he struck out more than like the contact slap hitters, but they hit no home runs, and he hit 60.
I'm not trying to compare it to the strikeout percentage of today, because that number will be
89 strikeouts in 1927. He struck out 89 times. That was probably a lot for that.
Yeah, who led the league in strikeouts in 1927?
He led the majors. Okay,
he led the majors a lot.
Yeah,
like a lot of bold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different seasons. He led
strikeouts.
He led with 58 strikeouts one year.
I stand corrected. Next on the list is Mickey Mantle's 1957 season with a 221 OPS plus, 11.3 WAR. He hit 365, 512, his on-base percentage, Mickey Mantle. 665, 34 home runs, 94 RBIs. He was coming off a triple crown in 1956, so he walked a boatload in 1957, which is why the home run and RBI numbers are slightly down. That's why he had a 512 on-base percentage. Ted Williams finished second in MVP that year, led the league in a lot of other offensive categories. I think that was the year. He hit 400. If you guys could check on that, but he led the league in like most of the rate offensive categories, but Mickey did win the MVP. Then we get to Aaron Judge, 211 OPS plus, 10.6 WAR, 311, 425, 686 with 62 homers, 131 RBIs. Shohei Ohtani was the next highest WAR. So I think by pretty much,
and he was a pitcher,
right? So by OPS plus, Judge ranks 4th, and by WAR he ranks 5th because Mickey Mantle's 1956 season, in which he won the Triple Crown, he had 11.2 WAR. And then the only other guy on the list that comes close is Alex Rodriguez in 2007, who had 176 OPS plus, 9.4 WAR, beating Curtis Granderson with 7.6 WAR. Now, you might want to throw out all of the older seasons and call Aaron Judge's MVP season the most impressive in Yankees history, and I might agree with you. I kind of am at the point where, yes, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig were awesome. They were clearly better, 2 times better than the average player at the time, even 2.5 times better. But it was not a fully integrated league. It was just not the same game. I don't think it was the same game in the 1920s. I think it was closer to being the same game in the 1950s, though. So I don't know I'm comfortable throwing out Mickey Mantle's seasons. What about you?
I am not comfortable throwing Mickey Mantle's. When you look, Mickey Mantle's numbers are sexy.
If he doesn't get injured, he might go down as the best player in baseball history. I'm not even exaggerating.
No, I totally
If he
agree
wasn't an alcoholic and had no kneecaps, then he might have put up the most impressive career in baseball history.
His numbers are, everybody gauds at Alex Rodriguez's numbers. Mickey Mantle is doing that every single year. It seemed like, with missing body parts and taking a fifth of Smirnoff before and after the games. Like, the guy was unbelievable in the way that he produced. His production was insane. So yeah, I think that the game is closer. Obviously, I still believe you have to judge all of these by era, at the end of the day, because they're so different, and the specialization of what baseball is today. That's why I look at, we were talking about this towards the end of the year. I'm like, we're watching one of the greatest offensive seasons, and you stack it up even next to Bonds and some of these guys that were doing all of these, synthetically. Judge is right there. And you could argue absolutely that, baseball is more difficult today. Remove the steroids from the game. Just look at the way that it's played. It's more difficult today because of the specialized pitching. It's harder today to get a base hit than it ever has been.
Yes,
especially with
but there's also aspects that make the game easier. Technology, travel accommodations, like knowledge about health and what you're putting in your body. Like Mickey Mantle was, they were playing.
Mickey knew that it wasn't best for his health.
But what I'm saying, players in that era, like the 20s, 30s, 40s into the 50s, like they weren't necessarily traveling by plane all of the time. They were taking like overnight train trips to up and down the East Coast and into the Midwest. Like they
had pods on those trains though. You had your own cabin.
I read a book. I forget what book this was in. I think it might have been in a book about, I think, The Babe. I read The Babe, which biography on Babe Ruth that came out a couple years ago. I think it was this book, or maybe it was a book about, no, it was the Summer of 49.
It was in a book. It was in a book.
It was a book with words.
Yeah.
Where they said that they would make the rookies sleep on the train above the wheels because it was very bumpy and uncomfortable, and then the veteran players would get the middle of the train, which was a smoother ride. So that's my anecdote.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad we got there. Look, we've complained about them not having pods right now, so you can stretch out your legs.
But that's like putting someone next to the shitter. That's like put on a plane, right?
That's fine. But you know what they could do?
Next to the bathroom.
They could lay out. They could stretch their legs. If it's a little bumpy, so be it. It's a little bumpy, but guess what? My legs are going to get stretched. That's all I need. I'll take bumpiness with my legs extended than a smooth ride with my knees crunched up. It's not good. Not good for the joints.
Especially Aaron Judge, you're 6'7", which we know. Umpires don't know that, but we know that. And he's got to be crammed into economy. Like, come on.
No,
it's probably economy plus.
Do you think the Yankees sent the plane? Did you think they allowed him to use the Yankees plane to go home to San Francisco to visit his family?
No, I don't think players get Yankees plane privileges in the offseason.
Not even Aaron Judge? Maybe they should.
No.
Maybe Aaron Judge should.
Maybe they should throw that in as a perk.
Yeah.
Do you think he flew private back home, or do you think he's not even doing business class? He's not.
No. Yes, he's definitely on a PJ. There's way too many. I've learned a lot about this world recently. There's a lot of services that you can take now to get from where to, and that's why I believe that like that's probably built into something that the Yankees, whether maybe it's not the team plane.
It's like a budget for private jet flight.
Yeah. Right.
Didn't Ichiro have that with his first contract with the Mariners, where it's like they would fly him back to Japan like a certain number of times or something like that?
I think that's right. That sounds really very familiar.
And Roger Clemens, when Roger Clemens came back for the 12th time, he had like he didn't go on road trips unless he was pitching, so the Yankees had to fly him back home to Houston.
And that was George. George is sending the plane.
Oh yeah,
George is using that fucking plane and he's sending it back and forth. Like
Absolutely.
That's one of the list of differences between the kids and George. George fuels the jet for people and gets the job done, and like spare no expense. We're gonna just walking out to that thing. I got a little. So when I came back from Vegas.
Flew private back from Vegas.
Flew private, yeah. And I crossed paths. I went to take a piss in the airport.
I've never hated you more than in the
well, you're about to hate me even more than this. So I went to take a piss in there, and I came out. Okay, and as I'm coming out, who did I pass? Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson walks right past me.
Wait, on your plane? No, like I
was at the airport.
In the airport.
Yeah, in the airport where you just walk out to the tarmac, and you walk through the sliding glass doors and walk out to the plane.
Did you say
Magic Johnson walks right past me? And he's coming from his own private jet that has MJ 32 on it, and on one side of the fin, he's got a Dodgers emblem, and on the other side a Lakers emblem. Like this is his plane. Yeah. And the thing was like the size of a plane that you take, like a regional jet that a commercial jet that you would take. It was huge.
Did you say hi to Magic Johnson?
Yeah, I did. I said, "Hey, Magic,"
and
he acknowledged me and went to take a piss.
You didn't ask him like, "Hey, the Dodgers are going to sign Judge?"
I did not. It was, you got to act the part a little bit.
I just realized because you said MJ 32, it's like Magic Johnson was MJ until Michael Jordan came around, and it's like no one else can be MJ in any sport anymore.
No,
he just took that from him.
He was 32, 23, a little flip of the numbers.
Yeah. So have we arrived at an answer where Judge's MVP season ranks in Yankees history? I'm saying number 2 behind pick one of the Mickey Mantle seasons, either the Triple Crown season in 56 or the year in which he had a .512 on base percentage in 57.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mickey takes the cake still, but just because he filled the stats so beautifully. I mean, when you look at those numbers, they're all so sexy. When I see a batting average over 350, it gives me chills. Like I love seeing it, whether you care about batting average or not. It's a sexy number and it does mean something. It means you're doing something extremely well and much better than everybody else. And his numbers were just gaudy. And I know Trout has put up like comparable numbers in a stretch as well. And I'd say the closest player to Mickey is Trout. There's a lot of similarities between the two players. But yeah, I think it's Trout. I'm sorry. I think it's Mickey. And not to dismiss Babe Ruth, but you're right. I think that Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig's numbers were unbelievable and gaudy. And this is why I think that it's really difficult to do any of this because of the eras and because of the context between when they played and who they played against. Because you're right. You're not even playing against all the best players in that play baseball, right. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. You're just not. They're not allowed to play in your league. And how can we possibly stack those numbers up against when guys have fully integrated leagues and you're playing against the best competition in the world? It's impossible to do that. So
anyway, back to the Judge thing. Giants. If he signs with the Giants, that would mean potentially his first at bat in 2023 is at Yankee Stadium in a in a San Francisco Giants uniform.
That would be brutal. That and the masochist in you loves that a little bit.
I would want to see the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, you can't draw it up any better on what could the reaction would be in the stadium, the lead up to the game. I mean, it's already opening day. You're already going to have, Billy Crystal throwing first pitches and stuff. It's Gerrit Cole throwing a first pitch, potentially Aaron Judge leading off. like wearing number 99 in a Giants uniform? Come on.
So Gerrit Cole is going to get pissed off because the ovation for Aaron Judge or the booing for Aaron Judge is going to be so long and loud that it's going to delay the game because he's going to be batting leadoff in the visitor dugout, and he's going to be the first batter of the game of the season. Just like Brian Cashman's was the first voice of the season in 2022, talking about how we're not going to sign him and then giving all the details. That would be some fucked up irony, to be honest.
Do you think it would be what percentage boos, what percentage cheers?
I actually think it would be a lot of boos.
I think it also depends on what the contract the Yankees offer him. If the Yankees kind of lowball a contract and don't offer close to what the Giants offer, then it's kind of hard to boo a player who leaves for a substantially better contract.
No, we boycott.
Right. But if it's close and he just picks the Giants, I mean, you thought the booing in the playoffs was bad for Judge when he was not getting hits. It would be on another level.
Yeah, because now you're just you turned your back. You turned your back on everybody here, and that's not good. No, the Yankee fan, I would boo him.
Don't you wish that like you could just travel to an alternate reality for a day? Because like that would be one of the things I would pick to happen. Like, okay, I want to travel to the reality in which Aaron Judge signs with the Giants and plays the Yankees on opening day. I just want to
problems. You have serious mental problems.
I know.
Yeah, just so in case you didn't know that.
I knew that.
Okay, I just wanted to say it out loud though too.
Okay, you don't want to. No part of you wants to see that.
No, I want to travel in time to when he's holding up the World Series trophy and hear the ovation of the Bronx when he's holding up the World Series trophy, not when he's coming in a different uniform, just to hear the pain.
But then,
okay,
it's an alternate
in everybody's
reality.
voice, because the boo is going to be a sad. It's going to be like a I'm hurt boo from everybody. Like, you cut me deep boo, and that's a gut wrenching boo. It's gonna really mean something because people love him, and if he leaves, then it will be soul crushing for a lot of people.
What, in your memory, do you think is the best ovation for a returning player in another uniform that like left the Yankees? Or, I mean, not many people have, like, Cano got booed when he came back.
Yeah.
I remember when Matsui came back with the Angels after the 2009 season, he got massive cheers, obviously World Series MVP. When Tino
came back, yeah.
Tino came back in a Cardinals uniform
right.
in 2003 or 2002 and got huge ovations. Like, those two stick out in my mind. I don't know if there's anyone else that.
No, because the other guys that were in that era, you're not getting that same ovation from guys in the mid to late 80s,
right,
early 90s, and then everybody else stayed with the team for the duration of their career. A lot of them from that era. So yeah, you're looking at the guys who left, and you have a select few, and definitely Tino, Matsui. That's it. I think Tino probably was the guy I was going to say.
There was Tino. I mean, Tino was another guy though that didn't leave. He wanted to stay with the Yankees. The Yankees signed Jason Giambi instead. So like that was a no-brainer. It's like, it's not like Tino left the Yankees. The Yankees chose not to re-sign him. And then he came back in 2005 season, I think it was, had like a nice little run with the Yankees in 2005 season. That was fun. So
David Wells probably got a really good ovation just because he's a man of the people.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. He got traded to the Blue Jays, so obviously the Yankees played the Blue Jays a bunch after he got traded there. But yeah, that was a interesting thing when I did that history episode on Roger Clemens. The reaction and the vibes of that trade was so split because like David Wells was the Yankees' best pitcher in 1998, and you trade him for Roger Clemens, who was freaking hated. But also, it's like, it's Roger Clemens. He's really good. Like, how am I supposed to feel about this? That was like a tough thing for Yankees fans to deal with.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those weird. It's not the same because he retired, but that was That is how I felt when Tino came over to the Yankees. That's the funny thing about Tino. Tino had a real roller coaster because, when he came over to fill the shoes of Don Mattingly, the circumstances were different because Mattingly retired. But Tino coming over was coming from the enemy, coming from the very recent enemy. So it was weird. And then he became beloved.
Right. Well, I want to tell you guys about Athletic Greens. We've mentioned it a few times. It got me through the late night playoffs. It got Scott through probably a trip to Las Vegas. I don't know. Did you pack the travel packs of AG1?
Yeah, the envelopes. Yes,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, they're great. They help you out. I mean, they truly do help on a Vegas trip because when you go to Vegas, as anybody has been to Vegas, if you're there for multiple days, and I was there Friday through Monday, which was 2 days way too long. Body was struggling, was trying to figure out, like, can I feel myself? Am I still here? AG1 in the morning definitely helped my body feel relatively decent to trek through the day. So yes, it was a big addition.
The thing that I love about it is, I mean, first of all, it does taste good, and it's one of those things that I never disliked the taste. Like the first time I tried it, I was like, oh, that's okay. But like the more you drink it, the more you like it. Just like, anything else. Like the first time you had a beer, you probably didn't like the taste of beer, and now you like the taste of beer. So, okay. But the thing that
interesting comp.
Yeah, not saying beer is good for you. AG1 is definitely good for you. But the thing I like about it is just, you're sort of just fueling your body with good vitamins and minerals all in one. It's like, you don't have to worry about, I got to take this, I got to take that, I got to take these 5 different things. It's one pack or one scoop. You shake it up and you get everything you need in 2 minutes. It's a daily supplement that you're supposed to drink first thing in the morning. It's packed with multivitamins, minerals, nutrients that all work together to make you feel like your healthiest self. It supports mental clarity and alertness. It promotes gut health with pre and probiotics. It can give you better sleep quality and recovery, and it boosts your energy. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews and is trusted by athletes and health experts around the world. It tastes good, as I said. Every serving costs less than $3, which, if you're comparing that to coffee or an energy drink or something that you buy, it's that same price or even less. And you're putting great things in your body, so it's $3 well spent. If you go to athleticgreens.com/pinstripes, you get a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. As Scott said, those travel packs helped him a lot on that Vegas trip. I took him on my trip to London, which I talk about with Brandon Kelly from Always Cheating later in this pod when we do a World Cup segment. But like I'm not even exaggerating. It helped my jet lag when I got to London.
Yeah, and jet lag's, you're right. I didn't even think about that as far as the way that it helps. But the jet lag's a pain in the ass because then you can't rebound as fast. So when your body is full of nutrients, then you're in a much better position to extend the day.
So a couple of other news items that we should touch on. MLB ruled no collusion on the Mets-Yankees discussions about Aaron Judge's free agency. I don't know. Was there a ruling on the Verlander stuff? I'm assuming no collusion there as well. Or has that not been ruled yet?
I haven't heard of any collusion happening that is confirmed, so I would assume no. It's got to be very difficult to prove collusion unless you're privy to a phone call or you have a record of some sort, which is also very difficult to achieve and obtain.
Right. DJ LeMahieu's health is really a growing concern. I know you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but Cashman's basically like, it's a wait and see. They're going to wait 6 weeks and he might need surgery for his toe, but they don't want to do surgery, obviously. So they're going to try and do it without surgery. I'm assuming if you do the surgery in 6 weeks, that's around the end of the year. That's around the end of December, early January. I'm assuming that's still enough time to get him ready for spring training. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you do the surgery in late November or late December. But obviously if you can avoid surgery, you avoid surgery.
I think that's it. And a lot of people get upset when they say, well, just get the surgery. Why are we not doing it? Just get the surgery to fix. A lot of times, sometimes surgery isn't the right answer. It's not always the right answer to solve a problem. I mean, it could be a situation where the surgery actually long-term deteriorates the foot, or there's some kind of a compensation that's going to happen because of the surgery, or something is tighter post surgery than it would be if you just let it naturally heal. Like there are definitely considerations when you're looking at that. So obviously, I think if the timetable aligns like you mentioned, and I don't know the exact timetable, but that would make sense in my head. That makes sense that if you get surgery in 5-6 weeks because it's not doing the things that you want, you can still get back and be ready for the season. So it seems like it's not a huge risk, but yeah, it's a concern now, and it's not just the foot. It's not just the foot. Like he's had a number of core injuries, and those are the ones that definitely worry me as well, because if those are lingering, if those come back, I mean, that man needs his core. Every baseball player in the world needs their core. And if it's an issue, we saw this with Luke Voit too. I mean, Voit had that sports hernia, and he became a shell of a player. If you don't have full rotation through your midsection, that's a really big problem as a baseball player. There's a lot of rotation that happens within the mechanics of throwing and hitting. And as a baseball player, if you're not able to unrestrictively do the things that you normally would do, coming through a ball or hitting a ball, then that's a problem, and it's going to affect the way you play and affect the way you perform.
The frustrating thing will be if that he gets the surgery and then he's not ready for spring training. That will be frustrating. So that's where...
if he gets, but this is where we need to be careful with our expectations, because if he were to get the surgery, that means that they still tried to get down the path of him being ready without surgery, which is probably the preferred option. So if he's ready for the beginning of the season, or like a little bit of a delay, and it's still, they did the things that they needed to do, like I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I guess, like if he misses 2 weeks of the season, like
right, who gives a shit? Haven't we realized that the regular season doesn't really fucking matter?
But who was the player a couple of years ago that felt something at the end of the season? I think it was the end of the 2019 season, and then they like delayed surgery or didn't do something that would have checked if he needed surgery, and then they ended up getting surgery. And had the 2020 season happened at the right time, he would not have been ready. But then because the season was pushed to July, he was ready. I forget what player this was. I think it might have been James Paxton, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Severino pushed off surgery for...
I was going to say Severino, but I thought Severino was already injured at that point.
I think Stanton wouldn't have been ready for opening day in 2020, but he was. But I don't know.
Paxton like hurt his hip like opening Christmas presents or something stupid. It was something like he was doing. Remember, he was doing something.
This was something he felt in the playoffs. We finally got the report.
I remember
I remember this. That he was feeling it at the end of the season into the playoffs. Obviously, it's the playoffs, so he's not going to sit out. And he actually pitched pretty decently in the playoffs. But then they just like let it linger into the offseason. And I think he like didn't tell them it was still bothering him until
he re-injured it, or he felt it again doing something around the house.
Yeah. And so you get a situation where, well, if you just did your due diligence the day after the season ends, maybe you can evaluate it and have a plan for the offseason. Instead, you wait 6 weeks. I'm not saying that's what's happening with LeMahieu, but what I am saying is that the track record of this medical staff is bad.
There's a report right here that like it said the shutdown allowed for the Yankees to go healthier. Hicks had Tommy John, so I don't know if that's what you're thinking of. Maybe they pushed Tommy John off too far, and Judge and Stanton both wouldn't have been ready.
Right? Yeah. They would have been a skeleton crew on opening day.
Oh yeah, you should see this roster from 2020 right now.
That's another thing that I don't know. Did we give it enough due? Is Judge's durability this season?
Say that again. Did we give it enough? Like, how he stayed healthy?
Yeah. Did we acknowledge that enough? I feel like that. I mean, that the last 2 seasons he's stayed healthy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how. How do you give that its due? I don't. Well, good job staying healthy.
Well, he hadn't stayed healthy.
It's not like he tried to not be healthy.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
I know, but like some of his injuries were freak also. Like he definitely had a couple freak injuries. We have talked about this in the past, and I don't see him as completely injury prone. Like I think some of the injuries that he's had are strange, and
the strangest was impact type injuries. The wrist in 2018 when he got hit by the pitch. That one, you got to throw that one out because he got hit by a pitch and he broke his wrist. The 2017 injury was
he hurt himself going back on the wall, didn't he?
Yes, and the home run derby didn't help.
He was diving into the stands in Fenway.
Right.
And
So again, like these are the types of injuries that to me are not. They can in I think in the long term on a big guy like that be a detriment long term, but it doesn't mean he's injury prone necessarily. So okay, yes, good job not getting injured during the season, Aaron. Good work.
I mean, that was one of the biggest
things
was. That was going to dictate the level of free agent contract. Yes, his performance, but also his ability to stay on the field. I guarantee you, was one of the reasons the Yankees offered him the level of contract they did at the beginning of the year. I'm sure they pointed to his injury history.
And Aaron, knowing his body, is like, okay, this is why I'm going to bet on myself because I actually don't have injuries, and there's no concern of injuries unless something were to happen because of the style of play that I have.
Man,
and then he rolled out and played center field for, a large chunk of the season.
No matter what I throw at you today, you're just like, nah, I don't care. Like, it's stupid comment. Move on.
No, I'm dismissing it in general, not even to you. I think a lot of people do look at it, but I'm saying when you're looking at injury history and you're trying to, people try to predict injuries all the time. And I think it's one of the dumbest activities to do because you can't predict them. You can look at a particular person and see if they're sustainable to injury. Aaron Hicks, sustainable to soft tissue injuries, right?
Susceptible
to soft tissue injuries. He's had a history of soft tissue injuries. He's had a history of, even when he gets healthy, like his muscle and the hamstring, they tend to stretch out too much and he becomes injured. Like that is a guy I look at. Aaron Judge, impact. There's a lot of impact injuries that don't tell me that is something that he's susceptible to. I mean, does he have like brittle bones? No, I don't think so. Did he not drink enough milk? His height and weight tells me otherwise. Like the man is not prone to injury.
That's probably what he added.
He probably
to his diet.
does.
He probably added AG1 these last 2 years. Would you call Stanton injury prone?
Yes, more injury prone for sure.
What about
because he also gets like weird phantom, like Stanton
calf,
injures himself,
bicep,
bench pressing Instagram models. Different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Different scenario.
What about DJ LeMahieu? Because DJ LeMahieu for 2+ seasons has been injured.
He has become injury prone because of recurring injuries as well. This toe has been, lingering for a while. Again, like I said, the core, that's one of those things, like if you don't get that thing strong enough, it's going to happen again. It's going to continue to happen if he's not able to really get it to a good place strength wise. And who knows, even then, maybe there's something that's happening there that will make him more prone. And his age certainly is a factor in this too. So you have to look at, all of the combinations of what your previous histories are, what they actually were, like what the injuries were, your age, the style of play, like all of these things are considered, no doubt. But again, it's a lot of guessing. It really is a lot of guessing. And I think with Judge specifically, because of the type of injury that he has, there's nothing that says that a particular thing on that guy is susceptible to more injury that I see. Like he doesn't have a lot of soft tissue. He did have a core thing at one point, right? You remember a rib? Yeah. So there's like it's cartilage and in anything that has to do with your rotation.
But that was from diving.
Can linger.
He hurt that diving at the end.
Okay, so impact.
Yeah. I forget what season. What season was his rib injury? Was that 2020? So 2019 going into 2020 was the rib issue?
I think so.
Yeah. So he hurt that at the end of the 2019 season, and that's why he would not have been ready for opening day on 2020.
So if you're looking at a guy like Aaron Judge, I think one of the more important things for him is to make sure that he's, aware enough to protect himself in those situations. And some of that you can't, the guy plays the way he plays, but it can't be with reckless abandon.
Well, this year he also played center field, which is a more demanding defensive position. He played a lot of center field and was able to stay healthy through it. So I don't know. It's like he's an athlete. I agree. It was still a question mark whether you think we can look back now and say the injuries were a little fluky or whatever. It's like that was still a concern. It's a concern when you're signing an already 30-year-old player deep into his 30s is injuries. That's a natural thing to had he played 155 games every year of his career to this point, it wouldn't be a conversation. But that's not what's happened.
It will still be a conversation just because of the man's sheer size and impact that happens when he does hit particular things because of his style of play. Like the guy plays hard, and it's a hard to knock that. But yeah, as he's getting older too, that's where the biggest unknown to me is, like, as he's, where is that age drop off point? Because I don't know. We haven't seen an athlete quite like him because of he's a 6'2" athlete in a 6'7" body.
Yep. All right. 4 more topics I want to go through in 2 minutes total. Number 1, Logan's worst nightmare. The Yankees avoid arbitration with IKF and sign him to $6 million, but they're maybe shopping him. And there's been some rumors on Twitter that he might have some value, which is apparently a surprise to the Yankees. Number 2, Alek Manoah is trolling Gerrit Cole, calling him the biggest cheater in baseball. Your thoughts, Scott?
Well, it goes back to the days of the Houston Astros, and if you goes back to all of the things that Trevor Bauer was saying about the Astros and the topical ointments and the things that they were using. So this was my concern when they were looking at signing him. This was my concern. And there's probably, where there's smoke, there's usually some fire. Alek Manoah, also massive troll.
Massive troll. Such a douche nozzle. Number 3, the Yankees are trying for Verlander. But they're not confident. I don't know, whatever that report means. I would love Justin Verlander. Sure. Give me Cy Young award-winning Justin Verlander.
40 years old. Who cares?
I don't care.
Give him $40 million. Give him a million.
He has a reinforced arm now. Okay. He's good. He is
give
good.
Give him $1 million for every foot of that 2-story beer bong that I saw him take in college.
The last thing is the Yankees requested medicals on DeGrom. Okay. Cool. Who would you rather have? Justin Verlander on a 2-year contract for $80 million, so $40 million a year, or DeGrom on you think he's going to get 6 years? Do we think DeGrom could get 5 years? How old is DeGrom?
Oh, no. He's older than you think. He's what, 33, 34?
He's 33?
Yeah, I think he's 34, actually.
30, I think he might be 34.
I would have guessed
he's
31.
older than you think.
Holy shit. I would have guessed 31.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, same age as Kershaw. That's how I remember it.
Really? Kershaw? See, I would have guessed Kershaw's like 47.
The mileage is different.
Kershaw's Scott's age.
Kershaw's got like 1,000 more innings.
All right, so who would you rather have? Verlander for 2 years or DeGrom for 4 years?
Verlander for 2 years.
Agree. I mean,
because he's got, like you said, he's got a rebuilt arm. DeGrom's, coming off injuries. I don't know how much you can trust that. Verlander has Rookie of the Year arm. Like, it'll go forever.
Do you think Steinbrenner texted Cohen being like, "Hey, we're not going to be in on DeGrom. We're not going to outbid you for DeGrom"?
Yeah, I heard DeGrom's looking for a Scherzer contract. Not going to be in on that one.
Cool. All right, that's going to wrap up this portion of the episode, but stay tuned. I talked to Brandon Kelly of Always Cheating. They're a Premier League soccer podcast, fantasy soccer podcast, but we talk about the World Cup. He has a comp to who Yankees fans should root for in the World Cup if they're not going to be rooting for the U.S. Like, what country, what team resembles the Yankees organization? So stay tuned.
Is it Argentina?
It's not Argentina.
Okay, because that would have made a lot of sense.
It's I'm not going to spoil it. Then we talk about why soccer has not, become as popular, because honestly, I really enjoyed going to the game. Like, it was a really fun atmosphere.
It looks amazing to go to. There's no doubt. Like, in person, those matches look like they're insane. We were sitting, our seats, we had really good seats behind one of the goals, but it was next to the Leeds. It was Tottenham versus Leeds. Leeds they have visitors sections. They don't let visiting fans sit amongst the people because they're worried that people will kill each other. So they have dedicated sections with their own concessions and kind of entrances. Like vaxxed, non-vaxxed sections of Yankee Stadium. And there was a moat, okay? Picture the Yankee Stadium moat, but there was a moat between us. But we were like right up against the moat, right? Are there people like screaming at the moat? Like, dude, like throwing beers at each other and shit? Leeds scored the first. No, you can't have beer in your seat. So that's one thing. What? Yeah, they don't let you take beer to your seat. You got to. So how many beers did you sneak to your seat? None. It's you cannot do it, but everyone's just slamming beers. Beers are cheap too. How much? It was like between 4 and 5 pounds. What is that in dollars? I'm like talk to me like I'm an idiot. Like $5 to $6. Wow, for a pint. For a 12-ounce beer. 16. 16 ounce beer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to just chug it up at the concourse,
Chug.
go down to your seat,
Mhm.
put it in a Camelback.
Everyone goes up
straw.
because no one leaves their seat during the game. It's 2 45-minute halves and everyone's into it. No one's texting on their phone. You're just watching the game. You're talking about the game. Halftime comes around. People sprint to concessions. They have beer already poured because they know it's like you go up, you grab a beer, you pay, and people just slam in beer for 20 minutes, then you go back to your seat.
That's a great idea. That reminds me of like we call it was the Big Blue Club when I used to have college basketball season tickets. They would just put like a bunch of beers on the table, or we'd fill them up and put a bunch of beers on the table because we had a time clock to chug them. Okay, let me ask you a question. I want to
okay. Go ahead.
So you have to go. I know.
No, I don't have to go, but I have to say about the Leeds section. So they were aggressive. Okay, Leeds scored the first goal. There was like, I want to say she was 55 years old, 50 to 55-year-old. This woman had seen some miles
and she
on
can
her.
Still kick a soccer ball.
She lives in cloudy England, like hasn't seen the sun since 1982, right?
A lot of generalizations there. A lot of stereotypes.
Leeds scores the first goal. She looks at us and just motherfucks us with 2 middle fingers. I was just like, I'm an innocent bystander here. I'm here for the action. This is funny. I just laughed. I got out my phone. I filmed. This is funny.
That's got to ramp it up. That would make me cheer for the team that much harder if someone did that to me.
So it was
like
a great
instantly
game.
I'm a fan now because fuck that person.
It was back and forth. Tottenham ended up winning and the place went nuts. And it's like Tottenham scores. 2 seconds later, everyone just turns their attention to the visiting fans and it's just throwing insults back and forth for the next 5 minutes. Really fun atmosphere.
Interesting.
Anyway, what was your question?
I don't remember it now. It's completely left my head, but it was a good question too. Sure. All I know is that I'm interested in going to one of those matches because they do look intense being in person, and I feel like my appreciation of the sport would like dramatically increase because I don't have it right now. I try. It's whatever it is. No knock on like. I just can't get into it.
And you know what? I'm not going to pretend like I'm now super into soccer, but I do know that was one of the most sporting events I've ever been to.
One of the most
fun sporting events I've ever been to.
That's cool.
Yep. All right.
That's cool. Well, yeah, I'm interested to hear. So stay tuned. I will be listening myself.
That's gonna wrap it up for this, and everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you guys next week. I am very happy to bring onto the show now Brandon Kelly from the Always Cheating Fantasy Premier League podcast. Since it is World Cup time, everyone's got World Cup fever. Brandon is here to tell us why we, as just regular old baseball fans, should care about watching soccer for the next month. Brandon, what's up?
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me on. I've got a question for you. So the complaint leveraged against soccer by people who aren't fans is that it's boring and low scoring. I mean, isn't the same complaint leveraged against baseball from time to time?
It's, yes. It's very funny that you bring that up because I'm not someone who is anti-soccer by any means. Yeah. I just never was a fan. It was just not something that I was, exposed to other than, you play it as a youth, basically, right?
Right. Exactly. It's a cheap sport. That's why it's so popular in poorer nations, because you really just need a crumpled up piece of garbage to kick around and you can play a game. But yeah, here in the States, it's typically in the middle class neighborhoods. Kids are forced to play some kind of sport. Sure, sign them up for the soccer team. But you're a Yankees podcast. Like, the Yankees are the biggest baseball team on the planet. That doesn't exist for soccer here in America. Like, the biggest soccer teams like Manchester United, Barcelona, they're all in Europe. So I think the World Cup is an American's opportunity to have like an actual rooting interest, and B, like kind of find their way into the sport.
Yes, I agree. And I remember actually being into the World Cup. I think it was 2014 when the U.S. was pretty decent. And I remember having people over to my apartment in Boston, and we watched one of the games. It was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But as someone, I was just in London this past weekend for my first ever Premier League game, Tottenham versus Leeds. And I was emailing with you, and I said that was my first ever EPL game, and you're like, "Holy crap, dude!"
It was a barber. It was like a
at.
4-3 game, action packed,
Back and forth. It was amazing. It was really a super fun atmosphere. I was excited. I'm a sports fan in general. It was like, tell me to go to a tennis match. Tell me to go to, golf. Tell me to go to whatever. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have a good time. Right?
Yeah.
Give me a few beers. I'll be good.
Yeah.
But like I definitely think what you touched on, that there's no Yankees soccer equivalent in the U.S. specifically.
Yeah.
There's the MLS, and it's just MLS plays at Yankee Stadium, but guess what? It's not the Yankees, right?
I had season tickets to NYCFC for the Lampard Pirlo David Villa season, and yeah, it was cool, but it's hard to translate on a baseball diamond.
But when I was in the UK this past weekend and we were at the game, and the atmosphere leading up to the game in Tottenham, it was awesome. It was really, honestly, one of the better sporting events I've ever been to. The atmosphere rivaled that of a playoff game in the US, and this was a regular season match. Now I understand that it's not every day like baseball's every day. It's hard to get that amped up for a regular July 10th baseball game, right? Like, because guess what? There was one on July 9th and there's going to be one on July 11th. So you can only get so amped up. But it really was a great atmosphere to be a part of. And I think if there was that atmosphere in the US for US soccer, I think it would be a lot more popular. Yeah. And also, if it was a little bit easier to understand the leagues and the tournaments and the championships and all the stuff that's happening simultaneously in a soccer season in Europe and in the UK, I think that's also a barrier to entry that is underrated for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really complex because they don't have the franchise model that we're used to here in the States, where it really does favor the ownership groups, and it's a low risk if you own a team. In Europe, there's promotion and relegation. The stakes are very high in terms of, if you drop down a league, your broadcast revenue falls through the floor. And there are a bunch of different competitions going on simultaneously. This is an issue that people have with the World Cup in Qatar being moved to the winter. We're in the middle of the big European club season right now. So all these big teams have to take a break and send all their best players off to Qatar. And all these players have kind of been playing nonstop. They're playing in their leagues. They're playing in the Champions League. There's the Carabao Cup. There's the FA Cup. I don't know how many hamstrings we're going to see pulled in the first week of the World Cup. I mean, especially given like I understand like the weather conditions in Qatar aren't going to be exactly extreme, but it is going to be hot, and it's going to be similar to what we saw in Brazil in that 2014 World Cup. So, but my recommendation, I totally agree, having seen a number of Premier League matches, the atmosphere is unrivaled. If you want to get close to what that feels like and you're in a metropolitan area, like New York, for example, pick a game that you think is interesting and go out to a bar, because just being around a bunch of other people who are just kind of watching the game and are invested, even if the game is 1-0, 1-0, let's call it, when that one goal goes in, it's euphoric. It's orgasmic. I took my wife to U.S. Ghana during the 2010 World Cup, some bar in Brooklyn called Soda Bar. She has no interest in sports, full stop. I remember meeting my father-in-law for the first time. And he's English, and I asked him, "Hey, do you watch football?" And he said, "No, I play bridge." So, that's the level of sports engagement in that household. Landon Donovan for the U.S., he scores a game-tying goal, and like the roof blew off of that bar. It was incredible. I turn around and my wife just has like tears running down her face. Now, it wasn't like she had a full comprehension of like what was going on, but the spirit was definitely working through her in that moment.
That's a good recommendation, definitely. Being at the game last weekend, one thing that struck me that is different, even from a playoff game that I've been to many, baseball playoff games, is that when the game is happening, the two halves, obviously the clock doesn't stop, but people are not looking at their phones. They're not talking to one another. If they are talking to one another, it's about the game and it's about the action, and it is very intense watching for each half. You run to the concessions for a beer at halftime, and you run back for the start of the second half, which I understand in baseball. If we're just talking about baseball versus soccer, baseball stops so often. The pitcher gets the ball back. There's 30 seconds to kill, so you have time to check your phone and you have time to talk to the guy next to you. Right. And then the inning break happens. So I guess I get it. It's not a 1-to-1 thing, but the intensity at which everyone was into the game was really fun to be a part of.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you going to follow any particular teams through the World Cup?
Well, that's what you're here. That's what you're here to tell us to do. Okay. This is the matchmaker segment. I guess I didn't set it up correctly, but I mean, obviously the easy thing is for us. I'm interested in what the U.S. does. I know the U.S. is like a mediocre chances at best, right? Like, what is best case scenario also realistic for the U.S. competing in this tournament?
Yeah, you're spot on there, Andrew. What we're kind of hoping for is to get out of the group, and what that means is the tournament starts where all 32 teams are potted into groups of 4. So before we get to the bracket per se, that's the round of 16. Everyone is in this little group, and they have to play everybody once. So the U.S. is in a group with England, Wales, and Iran. And we all have to play each other, and whoever gets the most points gets to escape the group, or the top 2 teams anyway. So the bare minimum typically is you just want to get out of your group, because then, just like you follow the NCAA basketball tournament, the narrative is like, just get into the tournament, and who knows what could happen. You could make some sort of Cinderella run. But we have a challenge as the American team, because we're, I think, the second youngest average age squad in the entire World Cup. We don't have a ton of experience. We failed to qualify for the last World Cup. So I don't even know if there's a single player in our squad who has been to a World Cup before. So the tournament experience is pretty weak. And our coach, Greg Berhalter, he's a really divisive guy. What's your relationship with the Yankees coach right now, the head coach? Pro, con?
Yeah, a lot of con towards Aaron Boone.
So
dislike Aaron Boone.
It's
isn't that the job of the manager or coach? Is that in most cases you're going to be disliked?
This is what I said when I first started the Always Cheating podcast, Andrew. I was like, we're only a successful podcast until we start getting a few 1-star reviews. You've got to get to a level to breed that hate. But yeah, Berhalter, our coach, he plays like a progressive style. It's like very sophisticated. You play the ball from the back and possess, and that is traditionally not how these international tournaments are won. Most successful nations, they just play very basic, very defensive, because the guys who play professionally, they are intimate with their club teammates. They're playing every day with their club. When it comes to playing for the country, that happens a handful of times a year. So, you kind of try to keep the system as basic as possible. And Berhalter is a guy who tends to complicate things. So I have a feeling that we're probably going to place 3rd in our group, but still, as I said, it's a young team. If they can just gain some experience, have a bit of pride, have some performances they can hang their hat on, even if the results don't go their way, that will just augur well for us looking ahead to the next World Cup.
So it's interesting you say it's like, because you're right. Like, you play with your club throughout the season, and then a couple times a year you'll play with your country. So if you're playing mainly basic schemes at that point, it really just come down to talent level.
Yeah, which we don't.
And the U.S.
we don't have.
The U.S. doesn't match up.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some ballers for sure. Maybe people will know Christian Pulisic, who plays at Chelsea, but he doesn't start for Chelsea. He gets precious few minutes, so he's going to be pretty raw when he starts for the U.S. in the World Cup. I think the guy I'm most looking forward to seeing play is Brendan Aronson, who you would have seen at that Spurs match, Andrew. He plays
Yeah,
in the
Leeds
Yeah,
has 2 U.S. players.
yeah, and Tyler Adams, who will also be starting for the U.S. I'm assuming in the World Cup. But Brendan Aronson, he's just like, he's fun to watch because he's super fast. He's great with ball retention, just carries the ball really well. And if we're going to score goals, I think it's going to be down to him working the ball through the midfield. But watch for this. I feel like every U.S. World Cup match I've seen, we've conceded a goal to the opposition within the first 10 minutes. So if we can hang on for the first 10 minutes, then it's all systems go.
All right. So obviously and as I'm assuming most people listening to this are rooting for the US. And if we're not rooting for the US though, I know you did some prep work on what team, what country most resembles the Yankees and their current situation.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell us which country you found that is similar to the New York Yankees?
Yeah, it's when you're talking about soccer, England is always going to come up. It's the home of the Premier League, which is basically the NFL of soccer, and England effectively invented the sport, and part of it is the country, the storied history of the nation. The team always has good players, but another part of what makes me align England with the Yankees is the fan culture, because the English fans are just deeply, deeply demanding of their team, and even when they're winning, maybe they're not winning the way that they ought to be winning.
Isn't that funny?
and so I'm from Michigan. I'm a Tigers fan. You know, I've got a different kind of relationship with the Yankees, and it's similar to the one I have with England. It's just Schadenfreude all the time. England, they have this song. This is like corny song called "It's Coming Home," and the "it" in that song is meant to be the trophy, whether they're playing in the Euros or the World Cup or whatever. The trophy's got to come home to England because that's where it belongs. And there is, for better or worse, a sense of entitlement. And I will concede, Andrew, because the Yankees are such a successful club. You guys have won your fair share of World Series. You deserve to have that level of pride. I can't take that away from you, obviously. But that's where England gets into trouble with neighboring countries when they say it's coming home. Everyone is kind of like, yeah, maybe just shut up.
So that chant of "It's coming home" is the equivalent of a Yankees fan just saying 27 rings to someone in an argument.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right.
Sounds
Even
right.
still, England hasn't won a World Cup or a major tournament since 1966. So I know the Yankees right now. You're kind of going.
Okay, so
yeah.
That's actually I would not have guessed that. That's much longer than the Yankees have been in a drought. I know it's every 4 years and not every year, but definitely longer.
It's relative, those fallow periods. Like if the World Series was played every 4 years, then I don't know, maybe. But there is a hunger there. It's just like, I'm sure, did the Yankees did you expect the Yankees to go a little farther in the playoffs this season?
Well, it depends when you ask that question, because they had the best record in baseball after the first half of the season, and then they were 500 there on out. So if you had asked me on July 1st, I would have said World Series. If you asked me when we made our predictions at the end of the season, I was like, it's a crapshoot.
So England made it to the finals of the Euro Cup last summer. They choked against Italy. They made it to the semifinals in the last World Cup in 2018 that France won, and England ended up losing to Croatia. So it's like, and they kind of have the same team that they had like 6 years ago. This is kind of the last opportunity for this cycle. So it's sort of like England is gone from that incredible start to the season, if you will, to kind of like, all right, like let's give it our best shot. So I do think Yankees fans might find something to identify with there with the English.
All right. Well, maybe some Yankees fans, For me, it's like you're always rooting for I guess the most hated team as the Yankees, the most popular team as the Yankees. So it's fun to root for the underdog. So that's why I'm going to be rooting for the U.S. Also,
Yes.
I'm an American, but if you do want to root for a team that most resembles the Yankees, hop on the England bandwagon.
It's going to be a wild group. I mentioned England and U.S. are in the same group as Wales and Iran. And, there are all sorts of narratives there. The geopolitical situation between Iran and the U.S. constantly, and Wales and England. There's some history and some animosity there. So, I mean, just pick any team from our group. But the favorites right now are probably the two big South American nations, Argentina and Brazil. So, if you want to see a little bit more flair, if you want to pick a team that's probably going to go even farther, it's going to be Brazil or Argentina. Andrew, would you consider yourself this is like the Elvis or the Beatles question. Are you a Messi or a Cristiano Ronaldo fan? You don't care, do you?
Good question. Well, explain why rooting for one. Yeah, like what does that mean? So people are fans of one or the other?
Totally. It totally defines who you are, like what the makeup of your brain is, or your soul. So Messi is like the more sort of complete player. He's the more generous player. He's the one that tends to shy away from the spotlight, where Ronaldo is the strong, all action, egotistical player. And this will be the last World Cup where both of those players are going to play, I assume, unless Ronaldo goes full Tom Brady on us and comes back at age 41 to play in his sixth World Cup. But one thing I'm following is Ronaldo, who now plays for Manchester United. His professional career is just imploding. He's burning every single bridge that he has in his professional life. And the one sort of competition that's left unresolved is who's better, Messi or Ronaldo. If Messi goes on to win this World Cup, then Ronaldo's legacy will just evaporate, like that picture in Back to the Future. It's going to be kind of amazing to watch.
So is Ronaldo burning bridges? Has he bounced from team to team? Is he does he have a reputation of being a selfish, bad teammate?
Yeah, let's see. Tell me who the equivalent is for the Yankees. Ronaldo sort of made his name at Manchester United, left and went and won a ton of trophies with Real Madrid in Spain. Then his career was kind of over, and he's retired back at Manchester United. He's not gotten the playing time or what he would call the respect that he deserves. So now he's out there bashing the club, bashing the coaches, his fellow players, and so on.
I don't know that there's a clear equivalent in the Yankees to that. They've never had, at least that I can think of, a player sort of homegrown come up and then left to go win championships and then come back at the end of their career. They've certainly had a number of players leave and come back, towards the end of careers, but none that left specifically and won, and I guess had the best years of their careers not on the Yankees.
Would it be because as the Yankees are bigger than any one player? I mean, maybe somebody like Derek Jeter comes close to that, but Derek Jeter is defined as a Yankee. No player
absolutely
would put themselves in that position.
Yeah, and I guess Aaron Judge today is, he could leave, right? So Aaron Judge might be an example in 5 or 10 years from now if we look back, because he's been with the Yankees throughout his career so far. He just won an MVP. Now he's hitting free agency. If he goes to another team and say wins a championship, and then at the end of his career comes back for a retirement tour with the Yankees, then that sounds like that would be a pretty good comparison. Although Aaron Judge is not seen as a bad guy by any means. He's a fantastic teammate, team leader, all of those cliche good things.
I love a good guy. I'm very anti-bad guy.
We all want to just root for the guy who's a good guy who just wants to win and try hard, right? Isn't that what we're... So by your description, I'm a messy guy.
You are. Okay? I hate to break it to you, but all these guys are tax dodgers. You pay your taxes, don't you, Andrew?
I do. Yeah. But I'm also not making, whatever they are, $50 million a year.
Yeah, you get to that point where you're making that kind of money. You're just like, you just put all the decisions on somebody else. Like, it's not their fault that they screwed it up.
Yeah,
They can't
it's
be they
not their
can't be
decision
asked.
that they're
Yeah,
dodging
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you think you're going to get out to the bars and try and watch a few World Cup matches out in the world? Or are you going to do most of your watching either on an iPad at your desk while you work? Because one thing we have to do here in New York, Andrew, is are you based in New York?
I'm New Jersey,
New
so yeah.
Jersey? Yeah. East Coast Standard Time is these games are going to kick off at 8 a.m., 11 a.m. I think 2 p.m. is the latest kickoff. Is we're going to have to figure out how to watch them.
So yeah, so what time is 8? You said what time are they
8
kicking off?
a.m. Yeah, if you're an early
Okay.
riser,
That's okay with me.
Yeah.
I've got a toddler at home. I'm
You're
up
up
early.
anyway. Yeah.
The breakfast sports I'm all for it. Just throw
Yeah.
it on the TV. Although you ask, am I going to be going out to a bar? I would like to see the reaction on my wife's face when I tell her, when I just got back from London on a guy's trip to go see a soccer game. Hey, hon, I'm going to the bar to watch the World Cup game. See you later.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You've got to save those points and cash them in
Yeah.
when it really counts.
Yeah.
Well,
so I will be watching
Mhm.
as I'm working, put it on in the morning. That's what I'll be doing.
I'm going to shoehorn in a little pitch here, Andrew, because it feels relevant for somebody like you. So, my podcast, Always Cheating, we focus on the Premier League in England and the fantasy game. But because we're on a break, my co-host and I, Josh, we decided, hey, let's take on a challenge, and we're going to podcast every day during the World Cup, at least every day where there are matches, and
Nice.
we're going to try to keep it brief, 15 minutes in out. Here's what happened yesterday. Here's what you need to know for today. What are the stakes? Who's got the best uniforms? All that cool stuff. So when your kid wakes you up at 6:30 in the morning, throw on Always Cheating, get the lowdown, get the table set, figure out what you might want to have time to or make time to tune in for in the World Cup that day.
That's great. Actually, that's something I'll definitely tune in for. But I think a casual or someone who's knows nothing about the World Cup, just give me information concisely so I can be invested in it and have some knowledge behind this. I think that's perfect. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and like most podcasters, we can tend to be blowhards. So the real challenge is less keeping up with the World Cup and more keeping these episodes to 15 minutes and not an hour and 45. So
Have you ever done a 15-minute podcast in your life? Because I never have.
I don't really see how it's possible. It's going to be heavily scripted, man. I think that's the only way we have to go in. And also, speaking of like cashing in those points with your spouse, when my wife finds out that I'm not podcasting twice a week, but I'm podcasting 7 times a week, that'll be further motivation for me to keep it short.
But it's only 15 minutes. I'll be done in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so.
babe, that's no problem.
Yeah. No, Scott and I many times have had the conversation. What are we going to talk about today? I don't know. Press record and see what happens. 55 minutes later, it's like, oh, we're coming up on an hour. I guess we should wrap this up.
It's a classic, just let's talk about some guys sort of phenomenon. Yeah, let's name some guys.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate it. We did 25 minutes, which was, I don't know what we planned on doing, but 25 minutes went by like that. And for everyone out there, definitely go check out Always Cheating. If you are already a Premier League fan and you play fantasy, that's obviously a great podcast for you. But as Brandon said, during the World Cup, they're going to be giving you the information you should care about. Brandon, thank you so much for filling us all in.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for having me.